Hi, my name's Rowland Bagnall. I'm really pleased to take this opportunity to introduce my new collection of poems, Near Life Experience, with a beautiful painting on the cover by a friend of mine, Scottish artist called Mariota Spence, whose work I really love. I'm so pleased to have it on the front cover. You really should look up her work if you have an opportunity. It's really beautiful. This is my second collection with Carcanet, and it definitely builds on some of the concerns of my first book, particularly ideas of paying very close attention to things, whether that's objects or animals or experiences or the imagination. Trying to reckon with what you're seeing and thinking about. But I also think the poems are interested in the relationship between language and looking in general. Something I think about a lot, especially the limits of poetry and trying to account for things or make a record of them in the first place. I think the first poem in the collection is probably about some of those things, so I thought I'd read it. It's called Nothing Personal. The century surges, shuddering on, accelerating in pursuit of some place rumoured up ahead, swallowing dusk after dusk of willful, uninfected time in cold-blooded mouthfuls, growing huger and more disarranged. In the end, isn't the point that this is all meant to relate to us, to tell us in a broad sense that the message is about ourselves? Instead, maybe the message is that we are understood by them, giving us a meaning at the time we most require it. Still, like the inhabitants of a city soon to be razed by a unit of cavalry, know that this is happening in spite of, not because of you. The mountains are silent, though they speak to each other, the gold air thin at the top of them, a flowering peak, from which point can be seen a valley of arrivals and departures, smouldering campsites, a bend in the river, livestock and settlements, not an inch of land unclaimed. I wrote most of these poems during the course of a PhD in creative writing at the University of Birmingham, where I was working on a research project about poetry and time, particularly poetry's relationship with the present moment. I'm interested in a poem's ability to kind of outlive itself and repeat over and over, preserving something of the moment it was written and of each time that it's read, but also losing things in the process over time as well. So I expect that a lot of the poems in this collection are engaged with ideas of time or even time travel. It's a poem that references, I think, my favourite science fiction film, Planet of the Apes, and I'm interested in that film because it's both sort of seems to be set in the past and the future simultaneously, which maybe has something to do with what poems are able to do as well. I'm also very interested in visual art, especially painting and photography, so I write about those sometimes too, and some poems either reference or are explicitly about a particular artwork or image. Photography and painting are disciplines that are very preoccupied with looking and paying attention to, so I think that's why I find them interesting or helpful to write about. Often a particular image that will stick in my head can help to clarify or illuminate something that I'm already thinking about, so I find that helpful. I thought I'd also read a poem inspired by a particular painter that's also in the collection. This is a piece called Poem with Richard Diebenkorn, and Richard Diebenkorn is an American painter whose work I really admire. It's difficult to put into words exactly what I find interesting or valuable about his painting, so I won't try and do that. But this is Poem with Richard Diebenkorn. Why is it that this field, for example, fuzzy and scribbled in, or the cupcake icing of each bungalow reminds me of a corridor, the kind that seems a metaphor for something, though this often happens, the mind moving itself, the heat blurring the edges of the roof tiles and the summer grass, pine trees generating needles in their tens of thousands, forming cones, the sun making its slow way out, recorded in the colour of the tarmac and the bursting leaves. Shirtless maybe, brush in hand, I summon Richard Diebenkorn, measuring the distance from his rooftop to the beach, narrowing his eyes to try and pick out the horizon, the day shrugging its shoulders, forcing in an evening which has already begun elsewhere. I think about the year to come, picturing it running through to August, autumn, Halloween, until eventually it's out of sight, a long, uneven desert road, dissolving up ahead into a sky-creating haze. Turning back now, Richard speaks. There's more time. Do you need it? His voice bringing the night air rushing out to the Pacific, a hum of electricity left crackling for many miles.